Greetings. We are Yang-shi.
Hello, Yang-shi. It's nice to meet you again. It's Isabella.
And greetings, Isabella.
You are aware that we're going to interview, so if you want, we can start straight away.
Yes, we are prepared.
Okay. So, what is your race, so everybody can know?
We are a variant of Lupine. We are called the OOLA Lupine. And we come from a sector outside of the Sirius space region. It is just exterior to Sirius. Star system, we would say. And is there anything else?
Could you describe what you look like?
Yes. And my fur is white. It has a silvery hue when looked at in the sun. My skin is a bluish color. We apologize. My skin is a bluish color. My nose is blue. My ears are tall and pointed. That is a rank of alpha. I have a scar over my left eye, and I have several other scars on my body. Although my skin is blue, I have several pink scars, including the one on my eye. I am approximately 6'7" in height, so I am tall for my species, and taller than average. And I weigh approximately 245 pounds, roughly. So we are rather lean. We walk on two legs. We have two arms like you, although our arms are much longer than yours. Our forearms, we would say, are longer. And even the bone that exists between the shoulder and elbow is longer as well. We have a hawk. We do not have the Earth terminology for it. It is like a dog's leg, essentially, how it is positioned to be backwards and then slanted forwards at the base. We have toes that are not too dissimilar from yours, though they are approximately 1 inch longer each. On average. This allows us to jump very high and very far. We have long nails, which are approximately 1 inch as well on each toe, and on each hand, the nails are shorter, about ½ an inch long, which assists with digital manipulation of things that you would touch in everyday life, not digital as in computer. My body is covered in hair, almost all of it. There are only a few areas that have no fur. The interior of the mouth, the eyeballs, some parts on the genitals, and just underneath the tail, near the buttocks. There is no hair in these areas. Now, is there anything else that we have missed?
Your eyes.
Our eyes are yellowish, golden color.
Do you have a round pupil?
We do have a round pupil, yes.
I guess they do react to light, so they become big and small depending on the light.
Yes, that is true. Although, well, we have exceptional vision in the nighttime as well.
Are your pupils generally large?
Not generally, because we actually don't need to dilate our pupils to see well at night. It is only under exceptional circumstances, when there is no sun on a planet or something of this nature, that would actually happen, because we often rely on other senses rather than eyesight. And the tapetum lucidum is a membrane that exists in our eye as it exists in many eyes on the planet of nocturnal animals. This allows the reflection of light back to a holographic source that you can see better at night, essentially.
Are your nails rounded or are they sharp?
They are sharp. They grow out naturally sharply.
Do some lupines choose to round them out?
Yes, but this is a customary thing to do. It is more a fashionable thing. But since we are on a combat ship, it is important that we keep them sharp.
What color are your nails?
They are primarily a bluish black in color.
Okay, and your tongue?
It is, some parts of it are pink and some of them are a light blue color.
So since the main part of your skin tends to be blue, but you do have some pink scars, would you say your internal organs are pink and blue?
Ah, that is a good question. We continuously have to itch the face, it seems. There must be something causing disruption. The organs, are they pink and blue, you ask?
Yes.
Well, we will leave that a mystery for now.
Okay. So what is your particular role or job on the Endera craft?
Well, we said this to a previous group earlier. We are the one that controls the guns and shoots any ships that get in our way. But we have other functions as well. As the channel's seen, we were previously loading equipment, energy-based batteries, and also plasma assortments. They don't have a name here. We were restocking our supplies. We had just made a trip to another location to restock our ammunition as we were in a battle the other day. So we do that. We take care of several different tasks upon the crew. We do manage some other, what is going on with this nose? We do manage some other tasks on the ship. We are a healer. So if there is individuals that are damaged, we can do some healing work on them. And we control areas of space using our big gun, we would say. We are the turret man, essentially, and we're responsible for reacting quickly. And this allows us to get to where we need to be quickly.
Okay, sounds like an important job.
It is very important on a combat ship, yes.
And I bet you do it very well. So let's see. Are there any more of your species on the Endera craft or other crafts like Telion, Girkfitnir, Ashta Command, or the Galactic Federation of Light?
Yes, they all have Lupine, actually.
Would you be willing to say how many there are on each particular craft?
Yes, once we figure out the puzzle of his nose and why it is continuously itching. Yes. The Endera group has one other Lupine. The Telion crew has one Lupine total. Girkfitnir has approximately 30 individuals of the Lupine category. And Ashtar Command is likely too large for us to actually say there is too many because it is too vast. But yes, we would say in the thousands.
Okay. Where does your race come from? I know you mentioned Sirius, but like, what is the name of your planet, home planet?
Well, we call it something different than you likely would, but we call it Bel-Shay.
Is it bigger than Earth?
It is slightly larger than Earth, yes.
So what is your planet like? The climate, the type of terrain, what does it look like?
Ah, well, it is slightly larger than Earth. It has just one sun. The sun emits a beautiful bluish green light. And that has a great effect on the plants and animals that live on that planet. It is quite lush. It is nearly approximately 60% tropical. And there is a lot of jungle. Approximately 10% of the planet is oceanic, we would say surface level water. And then there is maybe 12% is desert, covered in desert. And then there are the barren lands, which is uninhabitable areas. So these are the north and southern poles of the planet.
Would you say that the climate there, what is the climate like? Do you have what we call the four seasons?
Well, in the barren lands, they are always colder. There is also a mineral that exists on our planet, two different minerals. One exists to the north and one exists to the south. The mineral to the north will quickly choke you. It is not compatible with the respiratory system. And if you are in a storm, you would die within less than 2 minutes just from breathing in these particles. The southern pole of the planet has similar areas of void. It is not the absence of everything, but it is an area where we cannot go without protective suits. And this is also not good for our body, although it is not extremely toxic like in the northern pole. The southern pole has something that is almost like salt, sodium chloride, for you, if you are more scientific. And that is something that we cannot have too much of. Rather, our body is not good at having too much of that. There are also wicked storms that occur on the southern pole as well. And there is much more mountains on the southern pole than there is on the northern, although the northern does have mountainous areas as well.
So it sounds like your planet is kind of forcing your people to stay in the mid-range and not going either too far north or too far south.
Yes.
Okay, at least safely, let's say, without suits and things like that.
There are individuals that choose to live in the darker areas, and they are different. They are not part of our culture. They are not Lupine, but they are a different species, essentially.
But you cohabitate together.
Yes, somewhat.
You mentioned how you couldn't have a lot of sodium chloride in your body. Usually we tend to think of sodium chloride as helping us retain water. So it's good in summer, so we don't sweat too much water out of our system. So I'm assuming that, why is that for you?
Well, you cannot have that much sodium chloride in your body either.
True.
It is a fine balance. If you drink a lot of salt water, your body will quickly try to get rid of it because it knows how toxic it can potentially be to lysis. This is the breaking of the cell wall due to rapid shift of osmosis within the cell, causing water to flow outwardly from the cell.
Okay. Would you say that your species is more sensitive to salt than humans, or about the same? Oh, slightly more.
Slightly more, yes. About 20% more sensitive. Not too much.
All right. So what kind of plants do you have? Like the vegetation there, is it very different from Earth?
Yes, it is quite different, although we do have some things that you have on Earth. We have pineapples, we have oranges, and we have lemons. However, there are many other variants of plants that we have that you do not have. And many of them, well, Earth has a large variety of plant species due to the gifts that they have been given by the creators. That is why there is such a large variety of species of plants and animals on the planet. But we do have a lot of things that we can eat, yes.
Would you say there are poisonous plants also on your planet?
Oh, yes. Every planet has what is poisonous to one species, which is not poisonous to another. This helps to create balance so that if one species becomes too dominant on the planet, then, well, it does not matter because they cannot eat the poison plants. And then that allows space for other organisms that are designed to eat another type of food, which is advantageous for planetary development and the beings who create the planets.
You mentioned how you also had pineapples and lemons and oranges. Why is that? Did we get that from your planet or you got that from ours?
No, we didn't. They are naturalized on our planet. And they were not given by the Lupine either. They were actually given from another planet, but they are throughout the galaxy.
Are they exactly the same? Because I know there are different varieties of lemons, different varieties of oranges. I'm just trying to grasp, like, there is the umbrella term of an orange, but then there are many varieties of it. And because it also has to adapt to your planet. So does it have a slight different variation from Earth's oranges? Does it have an adaptation to your planet specifically?
It is slightly different. Structurally, the species of plants are similar. However, our plants have evolved over millions and trillions of years. Maybe not trillions, but billions definitely. To have more of a bluish green hue. Some plants have turquoise leaves. Some plants have indigo color leaves. Some plants have different spectrum of bluish green. And that is the case with the pineapple tree we would give as an example. It is more of a blue than a green, but it is a bluish green shade of the leaf.
So the sun, I can assume, affects the color of your species skin and all the other variety of species of plants and animals that reside on your planet.
Yes, in order to produce healthy amounts of energy via chlorophyll, it is required that the plants are able to adjust to solar bodies in the area. And since our primary solar body is plasma based and it is bluish, that is why they must adapt to this.
Would you say that the oranges, because now I'm specifically thinking about the oranges, but of course also the pineapples and the lemons, since the coloration and the structure is slightly different, would the flavors be different from those on Earth?
Yes, they are slightly different. Our lemons look a little bit like your limes, although they are much larger. They are about 1 pound a piece. So, yes.
Would they also be acidic or alkaline?
They are alkaline.
Okay. How many species of plants are edible on your planet for your people?
Oh, that is a very large number. And we don't have the specific details with us, actually. But we would say, yes, we would have to ask our scientists for a more exact number in this area.
You can give an estimate.
Well, if we were to ask you how many of the plants can you eat on Earth, how easily would you answer this question?
I wouldn't, because I'm not an appropriate person to ask for that.
Exactly our point. We would say we have enough variety that we do not become bored, and we would say that the majority of the planet is tropical zone. And on the equatorial region, band of this, there are a lot of different species from one side of the planet to the other side. And it is quite well diversified from one side of the planet to the other as well, because there is some variance in temperature changes in regions where there is more water and regions where there is less water.
In the regions where you said that can get very cold, do you ever get something that could be similar to what we call snow or ice?
Yes, but it is not quite snow. It is like an ash. It is
Okay.
created by the product that is flying around in the air.
So I will now move on to animals, the fauna, the animal species on your planet. Are there any animal species that are similar to Earth animals?
Yes, we have something similar to the buffalo. It is slightly different, but it has two horns, and it is roughly the same size. We have something similar to your beaver, although they must have a difficult time because most of the water is under the surface of the planet. We do have fish and other things like that as well in our bodies of water. But there is a lot that exists underneath the surface of the planet, animal-wise.
Do you have anything similar to birds?
Well, not really, actually. We have something, but it is more of a reptilian that flies, but we have a lot of insects.
Do you have any insects that are familiar to Earth?
Like your dragonfly, but it is probably maybe 1,500% larger.
Kind of makes me think of the dinosaur times, at least what is portrayed to have been.
Yes, it would be like that.
So, what animals do you eat? And plants?
Well, that is a big question as well. I like bugs a lot. It sounds rather crazy to a human, probably. But in China, they eat a lot of bugs. And in India as well. Now, what do I eat? I pretty much eat everything. We do not like the lemons. And we tend to stick to flesh, species of mushrooms, starches, that we primarily get from a plant which is developed and farmed. We do some farming, but only a little bit. And it is with the species that are more uncommon to find if you are to roam around. One moment, please. And what else do we eat? We eat a lot of things. There are a lot of things you can make with bugs.
So you do cook?
Oh, yes.
Okay, I'll get into that a little bit later because I want to ask about your species or your particular race's culture and so on, and cooking and cuisine sort of dabbles in that area.
Of course.
So I would like to ask, what are the buildings or living quarters, like homes, what are they like on your planet?
They're very minimalistic. We choose to live a tribal way. Although we do have space age technology, we choose to live in a more small colony based way. Our colonies are approximately 100 individuals in size. You might call it a pack. There is someone in proximity. Very well. Yes, groups of approximately 100 individuals. They range from around 80 to 120 individuals, depending on the size of the colony. But our houses are rather small. We would say the individuals, there is usually 3 or even 4 in a house. The houses are very small, maybe 10 to 15 feet tall in a circular shape usually. Although there are different variants of houses and way that they develop the houses. Some choose to live even more wild by just slanting branches upon trees and making lean-tos, as you call them. So it is very primitive looking, but we are not primitive people. We are advanced, relatively advanced. No, we are not the top of the top in technology because we do not care about these things. We care about maintaining our balance within the planet and within ourselves.
Would you say that your homes, the buildings there, would you have something similar to what we call like an earth dome, like made out of mud, or I don't know how to explain it. There are some movements here on Earth where people like to make earth bag homes, and then they make
Yes.
a form of clay to make the house from.
It would be something like that, something similar to your yurt, Y-U-R-T.
Okay.
Not very large, but big enough and sheltered with skins most often. Stretched.
Sorry, do you have windows?
No, we do not use windows.
Do you have a
But
door?
if you stretch a hide thin enough, it can become a window.
Okay. At least to protect your home from anything getting in, more or less.
Yes, primarily to protect us from things like mosquitoes, we would say.
So you also have mosquitoes.
Things like mosquitoes, yes.
All right. Do your people have clothing?
Yes, we do wear clothing. A lot of individuals will choose just to wear a loincloth. Not much is often worn, but the shaman is accoutrements the proper word. Tribal beads, they wear a lot of pelts. They have wooden, it is not a crown, but it is something that is placed upon the head, similar to a crown. And even jewelry is made often out of wood or some precious raw mineral.
So I imagine each member, depending on who they are, whether they are a shaman or just a common person, do they have different clothing representing who they are? So the shaman, I would imagine, have more bodily adornments and more pelts and clothing than the average person.
That is true. And the alpha also carry greater garment as well to show rank.
So in terms of bodily adornments, you were talking about some can wear like a wooden sort of crown or headpiece, and minerals. Would you say that the minerals are similar to like what we call diamonds that we put in jewelry on Earth, or emeralds and rubies?
No. And here is why. Well, humans cut everything. They use laser beams to amplify the magnification of light and refractory within the crystal or whatever it is that you are referring to, the gem. We prefer things to look raw, like moldavite, for example, that you are wearing. We see without our eyes, as you know. Now, so we like things that are more raw because to process something, it takes a lot of technology to do. It is not easy to come by, although we have areas of our planet that are more developed, that have cities, that have technology and larger buildings. I choose to not live there.
Okay. So do you have any, since you like to wear them raw and unprocessed, let's say, at least the less interference of the minerals or bodily adornments, do you have any minerals that are similar to the minerals on Earth that you do wear?
Yes, we do have gold on our planet. It is primarily around the springs and also around the orifices of the planet where water is ejected from inside the planet. That is primarily where it comes from. And we gather that material and we do certain things with it. Mostly it is used for technology. But sometimes there are individuals that will use it for adorning themselves.
Would they, for example, get like a raw gold nugget and wrap it in some form of string and wear it like a necklace, for example?
Yes, that would be very appealing.
Okay. So what are the Lupine people of your planet generally like? Like what's the average people there like, how they are, their personality, the way they act, behaviors?
Well, this is a big question. Our people are very peaceful. We are exceptional at not taking too much, not using too much, not wasting too much. And that allows us to live in one environment perpetually, so that we do not need to continue to migrate to new locations. So the only time that we need to migrate is when we need to find a resource that we wish to farm, and in which case we would find that resource and then bring it back and make it farmable material, whether it is something like your potato or it is something of an animal that is to be livestock. We often are kind to each other. It is very peaceful within our hierarchical system. And it is not too often that one challenges an alpha, but it does happen from time to time, maybe 2 or 3 times in one's life, an alpha will be challenged. And it is their duty to maintain their rank, whether it be through challenge of intellect, conversation, or a battle. That is dependent on the challenger. But there are many ways to challenge the alpha, but it is usually not the case that it happens, because the alphas are larger, the alphas are faster, the alphas are more intelligent. They are the pinnacle of our species, and that is why we are chosen to be such a thing. But there are times when our offspring can challenge us when they are ready. We apologize, we are becoming stiff. So that does happen, and that would create some turmoil temporarily. It is like a build-up phase, like a fight from your UFC. They talk, they measure each other up, and then when the time is right, then they will battle in whatever way it is that we have said before. And then there is a cool down phase afterwards, where they accept the role that they have been placed into after the fight is won or lost. So during that period, it can be stressful for the family, for the colony, and for the people around them as well, because as a strong empathic, telepathic community, we are all feeling the emotions of others around us, and we know what is going through the minds of the people. So we all share the burden, one might say, of the loser. And that happens. Even the alpha shares the burden, although they do not have to partake in the loss that they will receive from losing.
I see.
How does that answer your question?
Well, I can tell that your people are very respectful to the planet that they reside on, and that they care about each other a lot, and that they are very adamant about keeping a balance so that everybody can have the right amount of what they need and to not deplete their planet of the resources that their people need. So I like it a lot.
It is an excellent planet.
Yes, I'm liking it too much. I might want to come and visit for vacation. But yes, I will continue. So, what are romantic relationships like? Is there courtship? Is there marriage?
There is marriage and courtship, yes. Primarily, alphas do not marry because alpha is responsible for the maintenance of the population. When the population is too large, the alpha is responsible to cull the population sometimes, and sometimes it is to segregate those individuals who are of the lowest tier from the rest of the group and allow them to isolate themselves. They may be pushed farther north or further south into the more hazardous areas. It is like banishment, essentially. We put them in a circumstance which makes it more difficult for them to survive, it is almost like a way to kill someone without killing them. What did you say?
Like exile?
It is exile, yes. And that helps our population to be maintained more healthily. It is a difficult role to be alpha, but to delegate that is part of the job. So we must be able to maintain understandings with individuals, have close relationships with individuals, and to share our thoughts and feelings of the growth of the colony with the others. Can you repeat your question, please?
Yes. So you said that there is marriage, but the alpha doesn't marry. But what are romantic relationships like between Lupine, and is there a courtship ritual?
Sometimes alphas do marry, but they often have many partners, which can be difficult for the mate. But sometimes it happens. And courtship it is very complex. We don't just give them a flower and then we mate. It is something that builds over a long period of time. We don't frivolously have sex like humans. Sex is to serve a purpose, to mate, to create offspring, which, if you are trying to balance society, you try not to make too many offspring. So it is much more rare than it is on Earth. Humans may have sex many, many, many times in a year, but we don't have sex that often, maybe 3 times throughout the year for an alpha. But those that are not alpha are not permitted to, well, it depends on their ranking system. But if they are not alpha, then they are only permitted to have sex once. And if they produce an offspring, then the offspring must be measured through our schooling system. If the offspring is measured through our schooling system and it is not capable of proper functionality, then it is either exiled or it is put into our subsequent tier system, which is further down. But this is very complex.
So since you tend to limit the amount of mating that is happening, I imagine your people don't have any form of what we call contraception.
No.
Okay, so it's a big responsibility because you could potentially produce offspring, and of course you want to maintain the balance of how many there are and so on.
Yes, it is very important. And everyone knows, nearly everyone knows, that it is of great responsibility to create an offspring. They are potentially damaging the homeostasis of the environment by doing that. And that is a key no-no, we will call it, to do within our people. And doing so can lead to the banishment of this coupling if they are reckless. So there are many things to take into consideration.
Okay. So what is the structure of your family, and do they all live together?
Well, as we stated, we live in things that are kind of like your yurt. Well, it is different for the alpha than it is for the third tier and fourth ring. So which would you like us to refer to first?
Whichever you feel like.
Well, let us talk about the alpha ring. Alphas are the top of the people. We are the leaders, we are the representatives, and we are the catalyst that occurs, which allows other individuals to do certain things or to not do certain things. So what we say happens always. Let us just move a bit because this conversation is longer than we had expected for today, which is not a bad thing. Now, the alpha has many mates, although we only mate approximately 3 times per year per alpha. We still have a courtship process, and we will get back to that as well, where we must choose the optimal mate for us. It is not necessarily a process of who we love the most. It is a process of characteristics. So the alphas spend quite a bit of time at the schools. At the schools, we don't want you to think as a human when thinking about this, because although we are older than the schooling system happens for a long period of time. It does not just educate children. It also educates young adults like your college and universities. And the schooling system is designed to groom and also to assess many individuals, all of the individuals of the third and fourth ring, and even the alphas, and the alphas before they become alphas even. Now, through the schooling system, which is run by our government, it allows us to weed out the weaker genetics, and those that have the strongest genetics rise to the top. These are the most likely to be eligible to become alpha, whether male or female. And this is likely who will be chosen to be a mate of the alpha. Very well. So it is likely that the alpha will court another female potential alpha as a mate, if not a full alpha, but it is likely she'll be challenged by the other already alpha females for that position. It is a little bit dangerous for them to be chosen to mate with an alpha, because they are challenged by the other alpha females or alpha males if it is reversed. So that is courtship for an alpha. Now, the reproduction for less than alpha, we would say, is different. Although they always want to choose a mate which is of highest ranking, they do so to perpetuate their line so they will be allowed to reproduce. And if they are not allowed to reproduce, it is because they have chosen a mate that has weak genetics, and that this mate is not able to sustain an environment in a way that is optimal to the rest of the colony. So genetics are very important to us, as you can tell.
Yes. So since, of course, the mating thing is a very, let's say, a sacred thing, unlike us humans, we tend to do it very often. Do you have other things that you do that would say, like kissing? I imagine you can kiss, right?
Not as well as you would be able to. But we do groom our mates and those who we are interested in.
So you do have other forms of showing affection that don't have to be particularly mating.
Oh yes, many forms, yes.
Okay.
We are an advanced society. We have many ways of showing affection verbally, through body language, through chorting, which is like a chest sound. It creates a reverberation and it is felt by the other rather than heard. There are many different things that we do, yes.
So from what I'm hearing also is that the alphas stick with the alphas and those of lower ranking stick usually with lower ranking. Do some of lower ranking ever get the chance to breed with an alpha? Does that ever happen?
Yes, if they are chosen by the alpha.
So why would an alpha choose one of lower ranking?
Well, as we said before, they are likely to be, well, they are in the schooling system still. And they are potential alpha candidates that are usually chosen. So there is a lot of competition in school, and it is to become the best.
So I'm trying to think, can a lower ranking lupine can become an alpha? It doesn't necessarily have to be that you're born from two alpha parents.
Yes, that is possible, but it usually is the case because the genetics run strong within us. And the difference in 1 second of reflexes is the difference in life and death. And because we have been in a process of war for the last approximately 12,000 years, we are doing this for our people's development, but also for combat, to protect us people and our way of life, so that we are able to continue the path that we are taking, to maintain and to help others maintain in balance.
Okay. I will move on to a little bit of like the culture, hierarchy, politics. So food, cuisine. You say that you cook. So what would be a traditional lupine dish?
Well, this is more difficult to answer because we do not have the names for you for the species of things that we eat. But one of our most favorite dishes is crunchy bug, we'll call it. It is like a pogo stick, but it is a bug. Thorax. Very delicious.
It's a bug stuck on a stick.
It sounds very basic, but it is delicious.
Okay, I'll take your word on that. I don't know if I would be very inclined to eat it myself, but maybe if I had the chance, I might try it.
If you have eaten a hot dog, then you have had much grosser things.
Uh, yeah, I guess. Touche. So that is okay, the crunchy bug. All right. And let's get to the hierarchy system and, well, the ruling system. So you have a hierarchical system. There are the alphas and the lower ranks. Could you tell me from low to high what it is?
Yes. We have approximately 4 rings. The 4th ring is delegated of members that are not exiled. They are still part of the community, but they are not able to reproduce. These are a rather large percent, about 20% of our people. And then we would say they sometimes, but more rarely, they can have shamanic or druid roles, but this is very uncommon. Then in the 3rd ring, these are the generic people, we will call them. This includes the majority of our people, approximately 60% roughly. These are able to reproduce with each other, compete for a position of alpha. They are able to have many jobs, roles, and positions, as well as have the position of a druid or shaman. We have many other positions, by the way. We don't want to say just these are the only 2 roles, but these are our spiritual and healer roles. So this is why, and when we were speaking with Ian, he was interested in this. So this is why we are mentioning this again. But we have many positions for jobs like you, but not as many. We have a lot less jobs than humans do, actually. But anyway, in the 2nd ring, it is composed of alpha. Alpha is the governmental body that regulates the people. We are in charge of most of the duties, to delegate and say what goes. We create the rules, a lot of the rules, not the ground rules. We would say we create the 2nd tier of the rules. The 1st tier of the rules is created by the 1st tier, which is the royals. Our royals, they are a different species of lupine. They look different, they are not us, but they are in our system, but they are above our system for many situations. And we cannot talk a lot about them freely, but they have great power. They can do whatever it is that they wish, pretty much. And they give the alphas delegations and things that they wish to have accomplished. And the alphas speak between the royals and the general people. But there is no being in the 3rd ring who is not alpha that is able to communicate with the royals. That does not happen.
So since you say that the royals look different and are different from the lupine, are they lupine?
Yes, they are.
What does a general royal look like?
They look a lot like your Anubis.
Ah, okay. Do the royal family, are they very adamant about keeping the royal bloodline, or do they also mate with alphas?
They do not mate with alpha. It has happened before, but they do not make a habit of it, that is for sure.
Okay, so they're very strong about keeping it within the royal bloodline, but then how do they have variety? Can't there be issues of such a concentration of genetics that there could be, like with the humans, cousins and cousins creating problems, genetic issues?
No, that does not happen because there are so many of them.
Okay, so there's a large population of royals, enough to have a grand variety to avoid genetic issues.
Yes.
But why did they become so separated? Didn't you guys come from them?
No, we did not. They came from another planet. And they gave us a lot of technologies. They helped us with many things. Before them, we were a little bit more uncivil with each other. We were a little bit rougher around the edges and a little bit more primitive. But with their assistance, they have helped us with space-bearing technologies and many things of more technological nature, including high spirituality.
So your people respect them so much enough to have them as a ruling body.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. So what are the politics like? So the royals, yeah, you mentioned the royals, they can pretty much make ground rules and do anything they want. The alphas can talk between the generic and the lower ranks and the royals, and that you can also make rules here and there. Is it very different? Well, okay, earth politics, that's also a different thing. We have, for example, in England, we have the queen, but yet she's still supported by the government.
Yeah.
Would you say, well, at least in your case, the royals, do they need any support, or they can literally just, they do whatever they want and it doesn't matter whether the alpha has a say in it or not?
Well, there is a lot of space for speculation in that question. They cannot do whatever they want, necessarily. They cannot just mate with an alpha. That is not permitted. And they cannot just do some sacrilegious thing to our people. That is not permitted. They cannot just be a bully. That is not allowed either.
Okay, because it's like, okay, they are a ruling body, but you technically are two different species cohabitating and giving them a bigger role for within your people. But there has to be, sorry, you were going to say something.
We were going to say we don't necessarily cohabitate. They have a city that they live in, and we primarily live outside of the city. It is
Okay.
something like ancient Egypt, if you imagine it like that, where there were the great pyramids, which had advanced technology and running water and all of the excellent things in the world, fruit and trade and all of the goods. And then on the exterior ring of the pyramids, there were beings that wanted to trade with these individuals. And exterior to that were the common people who did not have enough to be able to trade. And they lived there. We live in the second and third ring, approximately, and the royals live in the first ring, like your Egyptians once did, and pharaohs.
Okay. So you said they also gave you a lot of technology. Do most of your technology come from them solely alone, or have there been some pieces of technology that your people came up with also?
Oh, well, we have created some technology, but the refinement processes required to produce technology is often more advanced than we would normally use. But the royals have no issues with technology. They are very advanced.
So what is the technology they're like, and what is it mostly used for?
They have extremely advanced technology. They create the spaceships that we use. We can use them, but they create them. And well, they have a high level of technology. We would say 8 out of 10 universally. And we would say humans are about a 2.5 on the scale.
Wow. Are there any pieces of technology that you use in your everyday life as a Lupine?
Well, I am not living on the planet's surface. So I live in a ship. So yes, the answer is yes. I do many things on the ship and I use things, but most of them are not from the planet's surface tribal area, we would call it, the main Lupine area, not the royal area. So it is primarily memorabilia, things from previous mates, and also things to remember individuals by from my tribe.
By previous mates, do you mean those who have passed away or just broken up with?
We have had offspring together with.
Are your people, this pertains again to courtship and relationships, more like do you mate for life or do you also part ways?
Well, the alphas do not often mate for life. But there is mating for life on our planet. It is just not extremely common. Maybe 20% would mate for life that are not alpha, and 80% would not.
So now I'm hopping onto, let's say, religion and spiritual things. You said you had shamans. Do your people have a religion? Like on Earth, we have Christianity, we have many different religions. Um, do they have a religion and or spiritual practices?
We have spiritual practices, but we do not have a religion. There is a religion that the royals have, but we do not have religion. We have spiritual beliefs and understandings.
What would be a common spiritual practice in daily life?
Well, we will not say too much in this area, but we will say that we have a ritual that we do before we go into battle, where we touch our third eye area, then we touch our heart, and then we would say we have this position. And so it is something like this. And we are often wearing an amulet. The amulet is important to us, and it is remembering all of the things that you are doing in your life, a culmination to this point. Who are you? And look at your accomplishments, which gives you confidence for battle. You must have confidence when going into battle, or else you will likely think you're weaker than your enemy and you are doomed to fail at that point.
I see. I think that's a nice ritual, you can say. I was wondering, do your people meditate
Yes, we do a lot of meditation.
every day?
Nearly, yes. More as an alpha than a regular individual, but they still meditate.
Why do you meditate?
Well, to have peace of mind, to have connection with nature, to be aware of your environment, your surroundings, and that is which is within yourself. That is why.
Okay. So a little bit more about the culture of the Lupine. Do you have dancing, music, singing, and art?
Yes, we have all of those.
So in dancing, can all of them dance or allowed to dance, or does rank come into play?
Well, we all dance There is no rank, but alphas dance a little bit less because they are busy doing other things.
I'm, I'm not going to ask you to give me an example of dancing because that would be a little bit difficult to do. But in terms of music, what do you have instruments?
Yes, we have many different types of drums. We have some stringed instruments as well. When we say we are referring to the non-royals. So, you know.
Thank you.
Because they are absolutely different. And everything is different about them almost, except they are still Lupine. So, yes, if you imagine anything you can make with an animal is what we would have as instruments.
Okay. And singing?
Of
What
course.
is singing like?
Well, we have something, it is like yodeling, but it is done with the chest. And we mentioned before that we can produce vibrations from our chest. It is like that. Difficult to describe.
And art. What is the art on your planet like?
We have paints just like you. We do a lot of painting on paper and things like that. We create statues of rocks, and we have different competitions in weaving. We have, well, there are many things that we do, but yes.
I really like how down to earth your people are, and that they're very in tune with nature. It's very refreshing. Let's put it that way. And I would like to know if you could describe to me what the daily average life of an average lupine looks like from the morning to night.
Well, we would not consider ourselves an average lupine.
Right.
But we would tell you of the average citizen, which is in the third ring. They likely would wake up at a relaxed time whenever they are not tired anymore. They wake up, they would, well, it depends if they would wake up their mate or not. That is dependent. Likely, they have delegations to take care of their offspring. That is a very important part of our society, is community raising children. So they would likely wake up and eat something. We don't have a fridge, but we have cool. It is like cold storage. It is. We are trying to search for a name. Cold cellar, you might call it. It is like that. We are very good at this technology. This is how we keep a lot of food cold. It is like the same idea as a beaver dam, but without the water, we would say. Perhaps we can talk about that more another time. But that is where they would likely grab some food. And then once they do that, they would have the meal. They would likely stretch, perhaps do some meditation, and then begin with the day. Now, they would have a regular schedule. Each lupine does work. There are some lazy lupine, but there are not many. And that is because it is bred out of us to be more motivated, to be more in control of our lives, rather than letting society put you in a lazy, depressed state. That does not really happen with us. Most of us are quite happy. So each day, our children are rotated to another family unit. The children are able to get to know the other parents of the pack, and there is approximately 24 different pairs of parents that the offspring will go into on a rotational cycle, which allows for a well-rounded individual, and it makes an individual a part of the community. So they would likely take part in the rotation, getting to know that new individual for the day a little bit more. Each day they will get to know each other more and more. And then they will go about their daily task. We do not have to work 8 hours a day like you. Although on the ship we work more. But we would otherwise go about our daily tasks, whatever they might be, for a period of time. We may work 2 or 4 hours a day, roughly. It is not too strenuous, depending on the task. And then we would have another meal. We would then likely begin our relaxation process. At night, we often have many parties and dances, something like a tribal, you would imagine dancing around a fire and communicating with each other about what happened throughout the day. And then there are events and competitions that we all do together as a giant community. Well, 80 to 120 anyway. And it is a wonderful time to meet a mate, or to find out more about a friend, practice your abilities, or to find someone who is like you in school. This is usually what we do for fun. We do not have television, so.
It sounds nice.
Yes.
So I think I asked you a lot of questions, and I think we're done for today, and I don't want to take too much any more of your time. But thank you for letting me interview you.
It was very fun today, and the channel has become quite uncomfortable. We are not as good as we should be at moving the body, but we are advancing in that regard over time. Now, we appreciate your questions and your curiosity to get to know our race better, and your mannerisms as well. So thank you.
So I'll ask for the channel to come back, and I guess we'll talk again soon.
Yes, indeed. And of course, we will respect the channel in that regard. We will leave now. We are Yang-shi of the Lupine. Goodbye for now. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you.